regions. As we all know, the Hualien is a little bit far from here, but just like our chief Qicheng has said that he is from Kaohsiung, and this and for today, my brother Changyu is also here, and he has also pledged to, or he also attended for his sharing back in October. So he said that every part of his life is full of gratitude. And our poster is from our Kaohsiung's editing team. So whether it is writing or photo editing, it's all everyone's effort together. So that is our topic today, which is a breakthrough in the acute lymphocytic leukemia. So if you're listening to the morning volunteer assembly, this is one of his presentations. And he said that he has done so many of these talks that he's starting to lose his voice. And during the medical expo, we can see our superintendents from the Qicheng Hospital. And he said that he needs to take care of himself because he's losing his voice. But as we all know, this is everybody's role. And this is a new topic that he has been sharing with us. So today he will also talk about the CAR T treatment using cellular, genetic, and immune therapy to overcome leukemia, to treat leukemia. Now let's take a look at this following clip. As we all know, bone marrow donation is not an unfamiliar topic for all of us. But now we have accomplished more than 10,000 cases successful transfers. And Dr. Chen Yaochang was the founder of the bone marrow bank. And we see that out of the 10,000 cases, 3,000 of them came from Qicheng bone marrow bank, or bone marrow registry. So Qicheng has been a very important force in the bone marrow registry. And because of the Qicheng's quality in healthcare, we all know that the recipient receive very high quality bone marrow. So as we can see here, then as we passed the 10,000 cases, it took about 40 years. And these doctors are coming from Indonesia. They are the doctors of the Qicheng Hospital in Jakarta. And they're here to learn about the latest in medical care. As we all know, these doctors, they're very famous hematologists in Indonesia, but they are here in Qicheng to observe and learn about children bone marrow transplant. Now, at the same time, we have, if we remember, during the opening of the Indonesia Qicheng Hospital,
including
As you can see, and um, this is our chief, Li Qicheng, who's been teaching and sharing English in Indonesia. Now, if those who are in need of bone marrow transplant, they typically look for their siblings because they have 1 in 4 chance of finding a match. But for those without this uh, siblings to match with, they have to look in the bone marrow registry. So CAR-T is one of the latest in treatment because it is a combination of 3 different treatment modalities. Using genetic engineering, we are able to change T cells into very powerful anti-cancer uh, treatments. And each of these T cells were sent to Switzerland for gene modification and returned to Hualien, frozen. As we see from our patients, a lot of them are in high fever, they develop pneumonia. In the early stages, because of their immune compromise, there's certain risk. Today, we're very grateful to have the chief of Qicheng Medical Center, Dr. Li Qicheng, who will be sharing with us, as well as sharing with him the familiar faces. So let's say our welcome to Dr. Li Qicheng. So I'm very grateful and for teacher Mei Yuan and all the brothers and sisters. So allow me to share my presentation.
谢谢美云师姐哈，及各位师兄师姐哈。那我现在是不是就来先分享画面，好吗？
是，你先分享画面，那同时间呢？
好，稍等候一下。
So as you can see, Brother Changyu is here, waiting for him.
等他忙完这个再让他讲哈。
Who is holding that love slogan?
你已经 OK 了，非常好，非常好。
So next time we come, he'll be here for you as well.
有看到我们的画面吗？有看到拿着爱字的？
有，非常感恩哦。
所以下一次你来，他还会接你。好，感恩。好，那就请您讲咯，谢谢。
好，我把我画面怎么样缩小一下
？OK， 你还好。
I was going through some technical difficulties on their end.
全部的荧幕了。是。
我也把我的荧幕有一点会挡到，稍等一下哈。
好的，没问题。OK。是。
好像没有办法到第1页吗？
那第1页有我们这里，好不好？你可以你是用 PDF 档吗？
我用 PowerPoint。
PowerPoint，OK， 那应该 OK 啊，没问题。好，第1页我们 OK 好了，我用我们的。那主任你可以开始讲了。是，主任。
好像没有办法看到。
Allow me to start.
我帮你弄了，你可以开始讲，真的，我们已经弄好了。主任，我
OK 好，了解。
So as we all know that this has been a tremendous breakthrough in leukemia and cancer treatment without using chemotherapy. So today I'll kind of share with you some of these advances. This is an example for acute lymphocytic leukemia patients. In the traditional treatment it takes a very long time. Usually the chemo treatment takes about 1 month. And then you need a 25 to 30 month follow-up treatment. So it's almost 2 to 3 years And for those who are students, they needed to study and undergoing chemotherapy.
如果是年轻人得了的话，他等于是要边读书边做化学治疗。
Now, for those who are more in the high risk,
大人的话还有他工作的时间。
they all may also require bone marrow transplant.
如果是说
But the successful rate, in kids, we can see about 85% recovery rate. However, in adults, we have less than 50% survival rate. So there are certain difficulties.
虽然孩童可以到85%，但是如果大人得到这所谓的
But today, in the past 2 to 3 years, scientific development have came up with a new treatment modality. So, for example, here, this is one of the most difficult to treat cases, pH plus. Typically, the standard treatment process is chemotherapy plus target medication and bone marrow transplant. And that's the only way these type of patients can recover. However, their successful rate is still questionable. In the past 2 years, there has been a new treatment method using chemotherapy-free and bone marrow transplant sparing treatments. So these are the two medications that are currently used. So I'm using these English names. We have seen patients completely bypass chemotherapy. So this oral medication is able to block some of the cancer cells from propagating, and then the antibody injected is a dual antibody because it can identify tumor cells and inform your healthy T cells to destroy the tumor cell. So that's how we're able to bypass chemo treatment. As we can see from the results, in 2023, this is when the results been published in new patients, they have 95% success rate in the first year, and with the following treatment, we are anticipating that we're able to fully cure the disease in 95% of the patients. So this has been published in a very notable medical journal. And this medical center have very high amount of research grants, so they were able to create and conduct these research. Secondly, I would like to share with you, if this is not the initial episode, but rather more of a relapse, and traditionally we would follow the same treatment method. But for those who have relapsed, we are now trying this new treatment as well. In previous cases, during the relapse, they only have 7 to 8% survival rate within 5 years of relapse. And regardless of the research data, the survival rate has been very very low.
那如果是这个另外一家实验也是都很差，都是在稳中大概只有8%。所以一
Should we
旦
be even though they have a very low survival rate, should we even try using a different
很低的
treatment method?
竟然有办法挑战用
So we're still using the bispecific T cell engager antibody that we mentioned earlier, and that's helped to identify the tumor cells and letting your natural T cells destroy the tumor cells.
那用 T 细胞把这个血癌来把它
Now,
控制下来哈，这个是
a different treatment method is CAR T, which is a combination of cellular, genetic, and immune
是
therapy
我先广告的，就是说再把卡利这样的细胞
because
基因改造
it
的细胞治疗哈，
uses
那
a
因为这个
genetically
卡利
modified
它
T
细胞
cells
疗法，因为这里面
which
用到 T 细胞，所以这 T
which
细
are
胞就是细胞
targeted
疗法。
to
那另外它也是这种基因疗法，
targeted
那
tumor
这个
cells.
T 细胞它有被做基因改
And
造
these
的哦，所以
genetically
这个基因
modified
疗
T
法。
cells
那这个是
are
用免疫疗法，
have a
因
very
为这种
strong
改造基因之后的这 T 细胞变成叫做 CAR T 细
very
胞
strong
呢，它免疫能力特
immunity.
别的
So
强，
they're
所以它
very
可以马上
powerful
从里
in
面的血癌
in
细胞把它消灭掉。
removing cancer cells.
好，
So our first case
好，那我们就以
was
这个来做例子，它
a
本身呢
doctor, a
是我
TG
们
doctor from the Philippines.
我们也是我们菲律宾的慈
He
济人
first
眼科蔡医
was
师蔡教
diagnosed with
授
leukemia
当年
when he was
在学生
52 years
就看
old.
到这个淋巴性血
But
癌哈，
even though
那
it was
只是讲讲
successful,
说可以先
unfortunately
做
they
标靶化疗，
were
后来成
relapsed.
功又来到花莲慈济院做骨髓移植哈， 但
So
是
when
骨
it
髓移植
relapsed, we
不
used
幸哈，它
the
还是后来是有复发，
bispecific
那
T
复
cell
发的话我们
engagers
就是用这
and
个因为
to
它复发这个血癌就是
alleviate
哈，我们
and
就直接用
control
泻敏药物
the
给它，让它
medication.
有
I mean,
抗
control
体
his
控制下来，
leukemia,
血癌
and
才
then
能消
using
失。
CAR
那
T
我给他
treatment.
协助
And
安排做
now
卡
he
利
has
治疗哈。
been
那我们的这个师兄呢，
has
哈，
been
蔡医师已经合
cured
并
for
哈，
the
已
for
经
4
已
years.
经4年了哈，现在
And this
继
is
续就是在血癌当
our
中哈。
doctor.
好，那这样
And
是不
now
是
he's back
他
in
的
the
血复发之
Philippines
后，我们用
and
非化疗
continue
哈，
to
用化
serve
疗再加上后来
the
卡利
community
治
as
疗
well
治疗
as
成功
teach
哈。
teach
那这个位就
new
是我们
doctors.
蔡教授蔡医师哈，他现在已经
So
转
this
回到菲律宾哈，继续
collage
在服务
is
菲律
the
宾的
first patients who
学
have
生教
received
学
CAR
还有治疗
T
病人哈，这个
treatment.
很难得哈。
She was
好，
7 years old,
那这个
Emily,
这张图呢，就
when
是要
she
来
was
说，其实我们人类
was
史上哈，
diagnosed with a
第一个接
terminal
受这个所谓卡利治疗
leukemia.
病人是当年7岁的Emily 小女孩哈，
So
在
you can
2012
see
年的时候，她当时是7岁，那她的血癌因为太严
on
重
the
了，就
first
是化疗
picture, she
也没有
has
成
a
功，也没有办法
NG
没有顺利
tube
做骨髓移植。
because
那
it was
这一
so
张的话，事实
it
上
was so
可以看到画
serious
面
that
上
she
哈， 它
can't
事实上是
eat.
有这个带着
So
鼻胃管的哈，
ever
那
since
意
the
味着说
treatment,
它事实
every
上
year
它的血
following
癌
that,
很严重，它根本没办法
taken a
救治哈。
pictures.
那它在2012
And
年
now
是人类史上第一
in
次做
2023
CAR T 的
has
治疗
been
而这个
11
都是没有
years
救，所以他每年呢就
cancer
可以
free.
照一张
And you can
相
see
片
how
哈，
much she
然后
has
说他已经
grown.
1年没有血癌，2年
And
没有
this
血癌
is
，3年没有
the
血癌
CAR
哈，那一
T
直到
treatment
今年2023
success
年，那
rate.
他就是已经就18岁的啊，
So
那长得很可爱很漂
you
亮，
can
说
see
他已经
this
10几年没有血癌
treatment
哈，那就
is
是
chemo
CAR T 的
free
治疗哈，也就是非化学治疗的一个拯救疗法哈。那
as
所
well
以呢，我
as
们可以说这
transplant
个是
sparing because they needed
无化疗，
because
那
she
个
didn't
chemo
need
free 不是化疗，
any
是
the
chemo free 就是没
transplant.
有化疗哈。然后呢，
So
她是
what
小女
makes
孩，
this
她
case
因为
so
种种的原因，她很
successful?
幸运也不用移植哈，那就是
In
transplant 是移
reality,
植 sparing 就
we
是不用
found
这
that
件事情，就是
CAR
她没有移
T
植哈。那
has been
到底这样
available
的
for a couple
为
of
什么
years.
可以
It's
这么巧
been
妙的设
present in
计呢
Taiwan
哈？
for the past 2
那
years.
事实上
And
呢，即使是说在这个时代哈，已
we
经
see
CAR T 已
that
经
even
问世
though
有几
there's
年了，
great
现在
success
也进
rates,
台湾
not
2
been
年了哈。
100%.
那它真的
In
就是
the
说，类
long
似这
run,
个
we're
治疗
looking
成
at
果
about
是怎么样哈？
50%
那
leukemia
但是
survival
其实
rate.
不是
But for
100%
those
根死
who
的
are
哈。
lymphocytic
末期的血癌
leukemia, they
用
only
这个
have
CAR T 治疗的话，
40% of
就是
cure
长
rate.
期的根治率是50%，那如果淋巴瘤
In
更困难
Tzu
是
we have
40%哈。所以我们
we
也是
have
要巧妙去运
recruited
用这个
5
CAR T 的治疗哈。
terminal cancer
但是呢，在
patients
花莲慈济
who
院
has
哈，
been
变
using
化的
CAR
哈，
T
过去几
treatment,
年来5位
and
的
now
癌末
there's
的
100%
末年
survival
病人
rate.
哈，分别就是有
Um,
血癌啦、
the
淋巴瘤哈，
longest
用
has
CAR
been
T 的
4
方式
years
的来
since their treatment.
推荐他治疗哈。那这5位患者目前100% 存活哈，那就是有一些已
So
经
now
存
all
活
5 of our
4年，
patients
刚刚
are still
菲
alive.
律宾的蔡医师就是已经存活4年了哈。 有存活4年的，有存活2
And
年
so
的，有存活
why
9个
is
月，存活7个月。
our
目前
result
他们
so
存活
much
都
more
是良好的。
significant than
那
the international?
就是有治疗已经很
Well,
久的，有是最近才治疗
this
的
is
哈。
one of our
那这个
first
原因是
cases
何在
in
呢？
the
为什
CAR
么我们成
T
绩比全球的
treatment.
成绩40%、50%还要好呢？
And
哈，
he's
好，那
also one
这
of
个
the
就是
CG
说，我
doctors.
们举例就是这位我们自己
So
花莲的
when
第一位基因改造 CAR T 细
when
胞的
the
治疗
patient was
哈，他本身也
discharged,
是我们
our
基因很好的资
superintendent
深
brought
医师
apples
周医师哈。
to
那
wish
他在5
him
月份
a safe
是
and
初
healthy
步回去
life
很好
ahead
的
of him.
院长跟我很开心，给他赠送苹
So
果哈。苹果就
in
是平
in our
安安，
case
意思
in
是
our
他
case, we
健健
found
康
that
康
if
哈。
the patients
好，
have
那
young
我们的
undamaged
在
T
花莲
cells,
实际
if
的
we're able
people
to
就是
harvest
说哈，
these
一
T
旦呢我
cells,
们的
we're able
病
to
人真的起来
modify
他还
them
有在复发的时候呢，我
and
们近
have
期哈
better
就把它 T 细
effects.
胞就收集起来，而
Now,
不先进
T
行化
cells
疗。我
also
们因
have
为
a life
化疗可
cycle.
能会伤害他的
Since
身体，所以我们
they're
把它 T 细胞
since
把它收集起来。
it
那很奥妙是
it
我们人体的 T 细胞
it
其实是
developed,
有
it is
生命周期
goes
哈。
through its
我们
aging
T 细胞
cycle, and eventually
从身体里面产生
eventually
之
it will
后
die
呢，
out on
还
its
是
own.
很年轻的 T 细
So
胞。
within
那
all
另
of
外
our
一方
body,
呢，
we
会
have
经
T
过时
cells
间，这
of
T 细胞
different
就会死亡
age,
了哈。
different
所以
in
T 细胞
different
也
age
是有
cycle.
年轻 T 细胞，有
So
少女 T 细胞，
if
有
for
年轻
patients
T
who
细胞，也
needing
有
this
老的
CAR
也有
T
T 细
treatment,
胞。那我们当
it
然
is
是
best to
病
collect
人
the
一旦
youngest
要做 CAR T 之前，就把
and
它收
most
集这个
undamaged
青
T
少年
cells
年
to
轻的
be
年轻 T 细
modified.
胞，这样来制作这个基因改造，这样这个成品才会比较好啦哈。这个就是我们在花莲时期的 paper 哈。
So
那比方
in
说刚
in
才
our
讲的
patients,
我
when
们的我们自己
he
第一位
was
自
first
己在本身在花莲
when
接受
he
抗体也是
first
52岁的周医师哈。
diagnosed
他
with
当时虽然
leukemia,
淋巴很复
he
发哈，心情很沉重，
felt
但
very
是我们
depressed.
就是
And
不动
we
声色
held
先
off
不做
on
化
doing
疗，我们立即帮他
chemotherapy
收集
and
了 T 细
collected the
胞
T
哈。这个
cells.
红色其实是他的 T 细胞。好，那我们最近呢，
We
即将
also
在下
had
个月呢，
the
我们
opportunity in
全台
November
湾
who
哈
have
CAR T 全健保
received
给付的时代第一位要用
a
健保
grant
的 CAR
from
T 哈，就
the
健保帮忙付钱
from
的
our
一
national
位
health
70岁
insurance
70岁
who
的
will
病友，
cover
他实际上是
for
住台
these
南哈，从台
for
南
these
来到
treatments.
花莲哈来治疗。他也是他的淋巴癌一复发的时候，我们立即帮他
And
收集 T 细
of
胞哈，所以
the T
这两
cells
位病友
can
的 T 细
we
胞品
collected,
质
we were
都
able
是
to
被
submit
我们
some of the
全球
best
诺贝奖
samples
公司送到瑞士去分析
to
之
be
后，认为是
modified.
T 细胞品质最好的，全台湾最好的2位病友哈。
In the past
那当然这样子，他
2
们治疗
years,
起
when
来
we
就
have
比较
brought
好
the
啦
CAR
哈。
T treatment back,
那另外这一项的话，就是跟大
we
家分享，就
had
是说哈，CAR T 之前在国外研
officially
发出来之后，
received
那这
the
2年在台
authorization
湾哈，那
from
特别吸引
National
我们的
Insurance
就是
that
健保署
it will
的史
cover
双司署
this
长哈，
treatment
他
because
也
it
就
is a
是
very
宣布从
expensive
11月1号开始呢，就
it
是
is a very
健保
expensive
的给付
treatment.
哈，就是大家如果得到，就是不用自己花钱了哈，本来在国外要47万美金，
And so
那
this
引进台
picture
湾
we
市场的
can
时候
see
3000多万
that
台币，那现在史署长把它砍价砍到800多
we can
万，
see
就
that
可
I
以
was
治疗，
with
而且是由政
the
府来出钱哈。
the
那这
minister
边的话就是我
as
们
well
病友的
as
署
some of
长
our
黄威医师哈，
success
也是我们对
patient
病人周医师哈，
and
他已经CAR T 治
to
疗
take
完
this
哈，
picture.
那一起在台北开这记者会，那就讲临危不乱哈，临就是说这个是可以治疗
So
淋
I'd
巴
just
癌
like
的
to
哈。
share this
白
information
血
with you
病，这
all.
个白是白血病，就是血癌哈，所以这个立
So
马引进台湾的这个
for
CAR T
everyone who
Kymriah 哈，目
received, who
前是有健保
needed
给付，也把这个讯息让大家知道。好，
a
那目
treatment,
前呢，这次如
our
果是
first
有
step
这
is
个
to
病友
collect T
需要
cells
用到 CAR T 治疗呢，
and then
我们
send
当然
it
是很欢迎来到花莲慈济医院哈，那我们
to
会帮病友
a
像刚才讲
lab
的例子，就是
in
先做这
Switzerland.
个细胞 T 细胞的收集哈，那就是免疫
And
细胞，
after
那
the T
诺瓦
cells
跟
are
中基
modified,
就挪威是他们
they're
的
transported
非
back
常
and
高
be
阶的
injected back
天
in the
然蛋白
patient.
质实验室，我
So
们做
it
基因
is
改造，
the
那
whole
再再
treatment
次
was
送来
done
台湾，送
without
来台湾就配送到花莲慈济
without
医院，
the
那我们就
chemo
会把
treatment.
病人把它输进去，照顾他哈，所以这样子的过程其实等于是没有化学治疗的概念了，
So
是
back
个
to what we
非
said
常高科
earlier
技的治疗
for
哈。
about the
好，
treatment.
那我们再回到
In
刚才我想
traditional
说这个所谓的
cases,
今
they
天的主
require
题说
a
清心
month
耐
of
性血癌哈，
chemotherapy
这个
followed
本
by
来他的治疗时候
25
已
to
经给
30
他
months of
每
monitoring
个
and
病人都要一开始要
continue
花1
treatment.
个
even so, they have less than 50% success rate in adults. Now, lastly, in cases when they cannot avoid chemotherapy altogether, can we reduce chemotherapy
重点就是要分享大家，就是说，
how to
那
preserve
如果说
the
实在
quality
是
of life.
说没有办
Now
法
this
说
method has
没有
been
办法说
undergoing
不做化疗
clinical
那可不可以
trials.
减少化疗呢？至少
This
少做一点啦，对不
Dr.
对哈？那
Campana
这个
was
的话，目
a
前在
very
做很重要
very
的一个
notable,
实验
well-known
哈。那就是我
pediatrician
画
in
面
the
上
U.S.
分享的这位
And now he
Dr.
is in
Campana 哈，他
Singapore
也是在美国很著名的小儿科医师，也是
conducting
科学家。
clinical
那事实上，
treatment.
全球的这个 CAR-T 这段基因就是他研发明的哈，让他把专利权哈来那个贩售给出卖给这个
he
药厂，
invented the
才
CAR
成
T
功，所以他
cell
其实
treatment.
才是真正的发明人啊哈。那
And
后来他被新加坡国立大学哈邀请到
in these
新加坡
patients,
去
he would still
那他最近呢
continue
做了
1 month
做
of
了一个新也
chemotherapy.
就是说呢，
And
新发现的
after a
抗
month,
当然它可以
after seeing
减
some
弱病患的
reduction
治疗
in their
那一个月期呢，不
their
管这个血
leukemia
癌是
symptoms,
消失
he
了
will
呢，还是有
introduce
一
the
点
CAR
点，
T
他立即把它
cell
安排进来做
therapy
CAR T 的细胞
and
治
have
疗。
so far
那就他
seen
希
some
望就这
notable
样子啊
results.
哈，所以化疗只做一次2
So
个月，
now
那
more
再来
research
就
are
是
being
抗细
conducted
胞治疗，然后就终
to
止。
help
那
reduce
他目前正在做这样临床试验。那据他来台
the
湾演讲呢，
time that
很多这样的
chemotherapy is
病
needed
人
for
呢，
these
事实
patients.
上就走向根治了。那这样是
So
不是说
above
至少的话，
all,
少做啦，只做
this
这
may
1个月
be
之
very
后
too
就可以让他
academic
接受 CAR
for
T 细胞
you,
治疗，而且是用自己的
but I
细
just
胞
want to share with
好。
you all that
好，那
one of the
以上
quotes
呢，我
that
们分
inspire
享了
me
3大
who
段，
said
分
that
享
I
一
am
些新的
naturally
哈，可
optimistic
能
and I
大家
believe
继
that
续
to be
不了解
creative
上可以
and
讲
to
的东
invent
西。那我
and
最
be
后就倒
determined
数2页
and
slide，
also be
我分享
passionate
一
with
段是
your
说有一个
target,
人他说他
then
跟
we
钱
can
有
break
关，
through and
而且
create
他
a
相信
new
只要发
world.
挥巧思，认真发
So
明
this
下定
quote
决心，
actually
投入热情
came
设定明
from
确目标，就能够突破框架，开
the
创
founder
奇
of
迹。
Amazon,
那
Jeff
个
Bezos.
这个是现在全球几位首富
And
之
I
一
would
的
like
亚马
to
逊创
put
办人
this
贝
quote
佐斯他
on
的
Sister
受访
Mayun
里面
as
他这样
well
讲的啦哈。
because
那
she
我
is
觉得像
naturally
今天这是我们
optimistic
高雄新
and
浪
very
这位
creative,
美云师姐带领
and
团队，
also very
你们就是
passionate
天生乐观啊
about the
哈。
goal.
然后呢，他真的发挥了巧思，
And
带着大
lastly,
家
I'd
下
like to
定
share
决
with
心，
you a
投入
quote
热情，
from
把这高雄读书会
a
这场
poet
办得这么的正
in
面，也
1970.
教会了这么多
Uh,
人，包含教会了我哈。
he's
那我这
he's
张是我最后
talking
一张幻
about
灯片，就是说我常常用这一张来
the
鼓励
ordinary
这种年轻
people.
的医师哈。这是一个诗人哈，在1971年50年前
So
写
he
的一
said
小
that
段诗
don't
哈。
blame
他
me
是在讲凡
to
人哈。
be
我说凡人，
suspicious
我
of
是把它举
all
例为病人哈，就
of
是
all
说病
theories
人他生病了
because
哈，
I
但是
am
病
an
人会说
ordinary
他
person. I am
不要
only
请
looking
医
for
生不
warmth
要怪我，
and
就在我的
friendship.
生旅途当中，现在
And
生了
I
病
like to
了哈，
use this
可能是
quote
有
on all
有
our
这么
patients
血癌或等等
because
哈。
they may
那
not
今天理智
understand
的
all the
说，反
theories
正
and
病人
research.
高烧不用化疗就可以
So
根
they
治，可
naturally
是
have
真的有
to
效
have
吗？哈，
their
拔掉成
suspicion
功吗？
because what
我
they're
会持
looking
续的
for
陪
is
伴这个
warmth
病人，
and
但
and
是我其
friendship
实寻求
from
的
the
是
people that
听
take
他
care
们
of
所
them.
给我的温暖
So
跟
as a
喜悦，
doctor,
让他
it
们
is
得到
my
治愈。
my
所以我
mission,
常
my
常用这
duty
段
to
话
take
来
care of these
勉励
patients.
我们的
So
医师伙伴，以
here
及我们
here
的
is
年轻
my
医师
sharing.
生哈来把花费我们的良知良能来把病人
So
照顾好哈。好，
if
那
I can
以
take
上是我
out
的分
your
享
your
哈。那谢
slides,
谢美云师姐。
and as
好，
we all
非
know
常
that
好，我
he
们的主
is a
任
very busy person,
啊，所以你的
especially
简报收
after
到以后，帅帅的在上
taking
面
the
哈，那
role
同时我
of
们真的非常的感恩
the
主任
chief
其
in the
实
stem
非
cell
常的让
center,
我们知道，然后其
as
实
it
在
has
出
been
张大
increased
手以后的
his
病
workload.
人，再
But
加上说
because
我
he has
在
a
帮他
dream,
们
because
处
he
理
has
正式的，
uh,
可是他真的不
a
会阅
wish,
读，而且呢，就是
and
一
he
直
shared with us
气，
before
他
that
一直有
because
在
he loved
讲，
books
然
and
后宝成
his
梦说，
dream is
可能
to
跟他
open a
小时候，他
bookstore.
上一次就跟我们讲，他呢就是
And
其实
now
爱阅读，因此
he
他
has
希望
opened a
开一
bookstore in
家书
Hualien.
店，所以这间书店呢其实是在花莲的哈。
So
主
my
任再介绍
bookstore
一下你们家的书店，由
is
你来
6.
跟他们说一下，会更加的印象深刻。来，
Also,
刚才美云师姐哈，我们家书店的话，
so I mean, its
那个6
name
个字的哈，
has
我
a
们
6
才的
words.
书店
The
哈，
first
6个字虽
2
然是
words
书店，
actually
表示
came
这个书店
from
不是
one
在
of
我身边
our
的哈。
是真的。
the pen
理
name
智
of
告
one of
诉
my
我是有
patient
点
my
文青的名字，
patients.
但事实上是以前
back then it was before CAR T was available. So when his cancer relapsed, he passed away peacefully. So it gave me the inspiration. And the second word is saying that they are the second two words were just making fun of how lazy some of the people say they are.
讲话声音是最快的哈，所以有时候呢，
focus on their goals and be really diligent and too lazy to make changes and quit.
就是语桥懒人书店哈，感恩美人师姐。
好，我们真的非常感恩启程主任哈。你知道他有多贴心？其实要上我们的线，这些大医网真的非常的忙。可是我还是会跟他们讲说，因为我们有口译。
So to help our translation team, our interpretation team, we have asked our speakers to. So we asked all our speakers to prepare a little speech, a little script, so we can work with that. And our chief, in order to prepare for that, he actually recorded his presentation, and he felt that he did really well during that recording. So he asked if we were able to just play the video instead. And I said no to him because we needed this talk. We needed to interact with him. So even though he is very professional and able to provide very detailed academic information, but it still offered us a view into the treatment, a method of leukemia that's available now. And we have seen a lot of these cases who have survived and were successful from it. So in case that we meet people who are unfortunate to be needing leukemia treatment, we wish them that they would have the confidence that we see from our patients in Hualien. And for those who have joined our chat groups, you may receive some of these clips or words and shares, because these are all the good quotes I encountered. Some of them famous, some of them not so famous, but they have struck a chord with me and would like to share with everyone else. So every day, at least five days a week, I will share these aphorisms and as well as information from our study group. So I'm very grateful for the praise. And from here, when it says break through and create a new world, it really made me think about the beginning of the study group. Back then, I never had this goal of this dream of being this international group. When we first did it, we had tables with everyone. And Master Qicheng saw us and said that we look like we are in a study. It looks like we're at school. So now that we immediately made the changes, put a tablecloth and decorated it even. And then decorate it so that it makes it look more approachable. Now, throughout the first year, and for the first year, I did not receive any criticism from the abode or from anybody. Nobody said that we should do this and do that. And that is because Master Qicheng had said initially that nobody should give us any criticism, because she believed that we have the ability to make the changes ourselves. So because of that, I'm very grateful for her, and I wish that I hope that what we have done today will make her proud. So now is some of the feedback from our listeners who share that Dr. Lee had prepared a very, very clear example and made us really and leave us in awe of how dedicated our doctors in Tzu are. with the advances in medicine, they will benefit more people. And we're very grateful for these new treatment methods to reduce chemotherapy, the use of chemotherapy. And from our listener feedback is that they're very grateful to learn about this new approach, because chemotherapy has always been the hardest part for cancer patients. For those, if you're watching this replay, we also would like to hear about your feedback, and feel free to write your comments even though you're watching replay. In the past couple of years, we have seen patients who are undergoing leukemia treatment, and we see the emotional and physical turmoil that they undergo. So I'm very glad that having this treatment can help reduce their suffering. So once again, we're very grateful for Dr. Lee for joining us and sharing very professionally the CAR-T treatment. So next we'll go up to our next content.
欢迎回高雄哈。那接下来呢，我们直接上到石经文青大爱之音哈。那石经文青无论是在